Alright, so this time I'm going to be doing a clutch kit. I've already soaked my friction plates there in oil, so and took my brake lever down just so I could get into the case easier. That just unscrewed there. And be careful because mine had a thing on the back which I broke off in the process. Oops. So I'll probably have to buy a new one of those. And I also took my clutch lever off so that it would release some of the tension on the line before I started. So now this went freely here a little more, so I could take the clutch line out of that. Let this float a little more freely to get the cover off. So now I'll be taking all these screws off and taking the cover off, and I also have a new gasket to put on there, so get that done too. But that's the first thing I'll do, is take all these screws off. Not this one, maybe. We'll see. Actually, I lied. The first thing I'm going to do is drain the oil out of the clutch case so that I don't leak oil everywhere when I take the cover off. So first I'll drain the oil out. So, as somewhat expected, when I took the cover off, the gasket tore. So luckily I do have a new gasket for that. In the next steps, I will loosen all of these and take those out. Loosen them somewhat evenly, if you can. Alright, now that I've got the screws and springs all out, I'm going to take the cover off. Hold the middle thing so you don't lose it. It falls right out if you don't hold on to it. And then, so I will start taking the old plates off and setting those aside. I don't have any fancy tool for this, so just keep scooping them out until they're all out. Alright, now that everything is out, I can start putting my new plates in, starting with this one. These are the outer and inner, and these all go in between. So we'll start with this, then this, then this, then this, alternating until we've got the whole clutch filled back up. Now that all the plates are back in, now I can put the cover back on. Make sure you hold this middle piece while it's going in, or else it'll potentially fall down in there. You want the little grooves facing to the left, at least on this bike. And now I can put my new springs in. And start tightening stuff back up. You do want to be very careful when tightening these bolts because apparently they break easily. And despite the fact that they are listed at 7.1 foot-pounds or something, since they're full of oil, they snug faster. So if you're using a torque wrench, be very, very careful because you may break them. So I'm just going to get them snug, but not overly tight. So that I don't break them. So I'm going to tighten all those down in a star pattern, incrementally tighter each one until they're all tightened up. Now that I've got everything back on, tightened up, I got a brand new gasket, cleaned off all the old stuff using a plastic scraper and a razor blade very sparingly to get the real tough stuff off. But for the most part, the plastic worked just fine. So I got that all on there, and we will so I think this will work for me, this orientation here. When you push the clutch on, as the teeth here go through the piece sticking out, it's gonna rotate this a little bit. So you gotta try to get the position that works properly for that. So I think that is about where it was before, hopefully. Spring back on. And then we can start putting all the screws back on and tightening this down. Again, you don't want to make these overly tight. If you could find torque specs for them, that's probably best. I don't know it offhand, so I'm just going to do relatively snug. So I'll tighten all that up and see you then. Alright, got my brake lever back on, the return spring's in there, don't forget about that if you had to take it off. Drain bolt back in, and we're time to start filling back up the clutch area with oil, and then we can give it a test. But make sure your cable was reconnected and that the clutch feel is good and everything before you really settle in. But I think I got mine right about where it needed to be. It seems to be, to me, like when it's tight, it should almost be directly straight in the bar, at least for this bike. Yours may be different. I got my clutch all put back together up there, and now I'll just fill it with oil and give it a test ride.